Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Growth Class. I'm Phil Masiello, your host, and today we're diving into the intersection of heritage, craftsmanship, and modern scalability. I'm thrilled to be joined by Chris Bray, co-founder of the iconic leather and lifestyle brand BILLYKIRK and the creative engine behind the Bray Brothers Collective. So we're going to pull back the curtain on how to maintain quality at scale and why the Bray Brothers approach to business is all about longevity over shortcuts. Chris, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time to come on.
Hey, a pleasure to be here, Phil.
So why don't you take us back? In the pre-call, you told me a great story about how you guys started and a little bit about your history. So why don't you go into that? Because I think it was an interesting story for people to hear.
Yeah, so my brother Kirk and I, we founded the company in 1999. We come from pretty creative family, very artistic. And so we were always working with our hands. And it took a little while until we sort of found the catalyst for starting BILLYKIRK. But that happened in Santa Monica, California. I was out there trying to become an actor. And Kirk had just got a degree in fashion merchandising. And so we just head to the West Coast from Minnesota. I wanted to get out of the winter and try my hand at acting. So did that for about 10 years. But finding a watch strap in a pawn shop is what set this all into motion. And if you look at the cyclical nature of the wide watch strap, it had its, beginnings, and it kept coming back. It's like every 8 years it came back. And so we were on that sort of tail end. It hadn't been in the marketplace for a good 10 years. You had that sort of punk movement. And then all of a sudden it went to the real cheap, hot topic. A few different shops were selling just cheap garbage. And so it just sort of fell off the map. When any kid could spend $10 and become a punk rocker, it lost its cool. So a good 10 years later, we're in a pawn shop and we found one. It was about 1.25 inches from the early 70s. And Kirk basically gave to me and said, we should make these. So you pick up the yellow pages, you find a leather wholesaler, and you hope you'll get a sympathetic ear, and they'll tell you where you go from here. And we found that in Caldwell Leather, a guy named Steve, a real sort of hippie throwback. And he sort of gave us the ropes, or showed us the ropes, what leather to buy, who to go to. And we started making them on our own, just in our little apartment in West Los Angeles. And, just creating and trying new prototypes. And then Kirk started wearing a couple of these creations at a coffee shop. People kept asking about them. These are kind of cool. They hadn't been in the marketplace for 10 years. And we're like, this might have some legs here. And then you get to the point where you're like, okay, we've got a collection. Let's do a trade show. And I got to jumping the gun a little bit. We also met another incredible person named Arnold Aarons, downtown Los Angeles, who was like a third generation leather crafter. And he really showed us the ropes, like how to put a rivet on a buckle, how to sky leather. Very integral to the point where we started, primarily Kirk, basically under his wing, learning how to do everything. And from that, we ended up doing the trade shows. The big magic trade show that everyone hears about, much more popular back then. But you realize, okay, we've got something. We wrote, probably 6, 7 stores, nothing major, but it sort of put that real light bulb off. We can make these. There's people that are going to want these. And from that, not long after, you're making belts. It's a long watch strap.
Yeah.
You're doing smaller leather goods and figuring out how that's all made, but with an eye towards real classic, not necessarily trend driven designs, stuff that's gonna, you know, remain. Like I think I would wear pretty much everything we've created and I wouldn't feel like this is out of style, maybe with a couple exceptions. But most of it is just well crafted, understated. It's sort of meant to blend in with what you're wearing. And, it just spun off from that until you get your own design studio. You start to buy machinery. You start to hire people. You start to get the bigger orders, even big box retailers. And that's kind of where we eventually moved to the East Coast and brought everything from the West Coast to the East Coast.
And so who do you primarily sell to?
Yeah, so yeah, we are primarily direct to consumer business now. We used to do a lot more wholesale. We do have some select kind of key wholesale accounts, but that's where our money and marketing dollars, digital dollars are really going into drive people to the website.
But then since then, you've sort of evolved.
Well, we're talking 27 years. You've gone through lots of turmoil, global turmoil. But through that, we started to get companies asking us to create things for them. We already had this template. We've been creating beautiful stuff that lasts, wears in. Can get something made from you guys? Can we collaborate? And we really haven't stopped collaborating with businesses, from Vans to Levi's to J. Crew, to now working with Alex Mill, which is the son of Mickey Drexler. So you have this connection that's expanded over 15 years. So from that, we started to recognize a whole nother business model where people wanted not only quality, well-made items that reflect better on their company, specifically the sort of corporate gifting industry, where so much of this billions of dollars is literally just future landfill clutter. It's really a sad reality of just over commercialism. So we wanted to create a brand, and it's Bray Brothers Creative, that addresses this it's a model that it has no creativity. Like if you get handed another water bottle, it's that doesn't reflect well on you. There's no creativity.
I'm laughing because I do triathlons and I run and I cycle, right? And I do races. My wife, she runs races, and we just redid our kitchen about a year ago. And when we were cleaning out the kitchen, we literally had one entire cabinet full of just logoed water bottles from races that there's only so many you can use. And we just had tons of them and, wound up taking them to Goodwill and hoping somebody took them.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Imagine being in the boardroom with the world's most influential C-suite executives, exploring big questions about the economy, AI, and hybrid work. Welcome to C-Suite Perspectives, hosted by Steve Odland, President and CEO of the Conference Board, the ultimate podcast for professionals seeking the truth beyond trending headlines. Cut through the noise and dive into data-driven discussions, unbiased, nonpartisan, and straight from the top. Listen to C-Suite Perspectives and harness the power of trusted insights for what's ahead.
That's where they go. And, to me, it's an offensive thing to get them. Because it lacks all sort of it's like you gave this no thought. And you could say the same about just the cheap totes that are out there and just the other just Chotsky garbage. And so that's why Bray Brothers Creative exists, to sort of fill that void. I mean, it's still sort of niche, but we can work with all price points, and we can develop something that when you hand it to the person, they're going to be like, this is really well made. And it's something you're going to use. All right. So now you've got a customer. It's like, wow, this company, I guess, sort of respects me a little bit more. They're giving me something that's well made. I'm going to use it. So that filled a great void for us. But also, we started to do these great experiential events with the product. We've gone all over the world, Japan, Mexico. We've been to Ireland, been to England with our heat stamp machines for these fun events. Golf resorts are huge. The tournaments, you'll go to a really nice golf course with, let's say, a financial company. We make these beautiful golf related items for the financial company. We are then on site stamping golf bag tags, scorecard holders for the tournament players, the attendees. These are the employees that mean something, or they're guests of a resort that means something. So then they get to see their names being stamped into these items, get it handed to them, and away they go. So, I mean, we've even been on the ninth course at Liberty National for a Pro-Am event. And the guys get off the golf court, they walk past our table, I get their name initials, they tee off. As they walk back, I hand the item stamped with their name as they go back to the golf cart, just like that. So this is just another thing that just sets us apart. And it's why we've just been really busy with this Bray Brothers Creative. We're doing in-room design for resorts. These are companies that want touch points that aren't just off the shelf. We're talking a do not disturb sign that goes through 3 iterations before they are happy with it. So when you approach that door, you see this do not disturb sign. It's like, that's different. Instagrammable, right? So inside we're doing stitched jewelry boxes, leather boxes for hair dryers, menus, creative stationery holders, not just that little plastic thing with some loose paper, something that they notice. That then goes into a lot of these gift shops at the hotels. Just as another, added value sort of thing. So it's been really fun to see that sort of evolve and just the fun things we've been doing with it,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. I remember when I got out of graduate school and I went to work for this company, and this is before, we had cell phones, but we didn't have iPhones. We didn't have everything on the phone. But I remember when I first went to work for them, we were still using day timers. We were still right now. And they gave me this leather day timer holder with my initials stamped in it, and I haven't used it in 27 years, but I still have it because I can't
part with it.
I can't throw it away.
It means something, right? You get your name stamped on it. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Well, it's nice. It's a nice piece of leather, and I use it, as I store documents in it, and it sits in the little, the little lock box. But, it's just a nice, it's a nice piece. And I often wondered if I could figure out how to transition that into a passport holder, but,
Well, on the BILLYKIRK website, putting monograms on items is like a big deal. It's 20% of our product. They'll ask for monogramming.
Sure.
We also have a little retail footprint in our studio, and we do a lot of gifts, bottle totes, card cases, valet trays. I just want name stamped on it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think when it's personalized, you know, I think when it's personalized, it becomes a lot harder to, you sort of throw away, right?
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
and it does, it means something, especially when it's really good quality. You know, there's a guy in California. I can't remember his name. He was on the show and I can't remember his name or his brand, but it'll come to me. But he manufactures, clothing for predominantly men. And his whole thesis is he doesn't follow trends. He doesn't worry about, you know, what's in and out of style. He builds timeless, classic men's clothing, leather jackets that you're going to want to pass down to your child, you know, and they're going to want to pass it down, and, you know, and he guarantees it for life and, you know, all that stuff. So I think there is a movement for people to want things that last and aren't disposable.
No question about it. I mean, you know, I have a couple kids that have sort of grown up in this fast fashion
Oh yeah.
world, and it's pretty sad. I mean, it's that sort of initial feeling of saving a few bucks only to have this thing basically fall apart after 3 washes. But because the price is so cheap, it's like, oh well, you know. And so I I try to impart on them. It's like, you really want to buy stuff that lasts. I mean, I'm wearing a belt that I think I've had for 20 years. Now, maybe that's counterintuitive to a leather business, stuff that lasts, but you'd be surprised at how many customers have that same belt in 3 colors. You know, so I'd rather create things that last and wear in well than, you know, after 5 years, you know, it's gone. I mean, it just makes no sense to me. You know, we've had customers that will literally email me photos of their well-worn items just to say, like, how important this is to me. I mean, it's kind of wild. Like, you know, and I've had people send the item to me and have them taken a photo with a large scale Campbell with our friend Tatsuro's great photographer. So I have countless images of well-worn BILLYKIRK items that I'll eventually probably put in a book or something, because it's just something about that connection. You know, at first it starts as pure utility. It becomes relied upon. And with a little luck, this little item can become revered. I mean, it's like getting a pair of boots or an old denim jacket passed down to you. That means something. So this sort of heirloom quality is not lost on me, man. I mean, I've wrote notes of provenance to parents who literally said, I want to have a note in this wallet made by, you know, whoever made this. Can you sign a little note of provenance? Because when I pass it down, you're not getting that sort of connection with a big box retailer. Guaranteed you're not. And that sort of stuff keeps the light on over here, man. It keeps us excited.
Yeah. I think it works with like a lot of different things, but in some areas it just doesn't work because, let me think about how to say this. I'll use an example. My son, when he was young, you know, playing Little League, right? And I had my Little League gloves or my baseball gloves from when I was a kid. And I said, you know, here, you can have these. But he didn't want them because he's not going to use them because they're so different than today's gloves, right? And just like bats are completely different and they want the best. Now, you know, we kept it and he sees now the value in it because I also kept his Little League gloves, right?
Yeah.
And I said, you know, you're going to want to give all this to your kid someday, you know? But, you know, it's not that they're going to use it just to have it. as
Sure.
a sort of a remembrance of it, but
Yeah.
just there's,
Technology supersedes obsolescence. I mean, let's face it. I mean, there's some of these ball gloves are certainly a little bit more superior than our old Wilsons and Rawlings we used to use. And of course, the bats, the technology. So that's going to be hard. But, you know, like getting my dad's old boots, uh, that's a big deal, or old belt of his or something like that, or his old flight jacket from um, military police. That's that'll be passed down. Let's face it. So, nostalgia, those sorts of things are important to me for sure.
yeah, no, I think they're important to a lot of people, especially in this day and age. The whole like Temu Shein model of cheap stuff delivered. It's basically disposable. It's beyond fast fashion because I think it's made to be disposable. You get it, it's cost you like $6. You use it once and then you're like throwing it away. It just doesn't work. My daughter is a big thrifter because she doesn't believe in
Sure.
buying anything new today. And she rides horses. She's a vegan and she rides horses, but she doesn't believe in buying new leather, and all the saddles have to be leather where they should be leather. So she's okay with buying old saddles and then reconditioning them so that they fit the horse. But,
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
She's
But she won't spend, she won't spend a dime on anything unless, she's the cheapest person, but she loves to go thrifting because she'll find stuff, this is a $200 jacket that I got for, $10.
Yeah.
And it still had the tags on it. And you're going,
hey, look, that hunt is addicting, and my kids are the same way. If they find an old Champion sweatshirt or something, it's like the holy grail. They're after it, and I appreciate that. A lot of our inspiration comes from vintage, militaria, equestrian. Some of our best-selling items and belts, they have a fun story. In fact, if you go to BILLYKIRK.com and click on the journal, our blog, you'll hear about the history of our claw buckle belt, which is directly related to a World War I rifle sling, the M1907. The piece of hardware, we found this, and like, this is really ingenious piece of hardware. So we had it cast. It's still made in Rhode Island after 20 plus years. And it's one of our best selling belts, but it has a cool story.
Yeah. Yeah. I think all that stuff's important. I mean, I think it's great. So, so what's next? What's on the horizon?
Yeah. It's, BILLYKIRK continues to churn out well-crafted accessories and bags and belts. We have gotten away a little bit from that real sort of firm, established heritage designs and have gotten more, I guess, sophisticated, a little bit more minimalistic in our look. We saw a massive drop in our larger briefcases after COVID, understandably. And so we pivoted to these more thin, wax canvas, lightweight, just built for your laptop and a few other things. And that has really been a driver for us. And so one of our most popular briefcases prior to COVID was called the Schoolboy Satchel, which had elements of a World War II Swiss medic bag, and also a Belgian map case. These pieces of hardware, we sort of borrowed from those designed to create this. And we're getting ready to launch a thinner version of our Schoolboy Satchel, which I'm pretty excited about. So yeah, we got some new totes. We've got new Cordovan watch strap designs coming out. The Bray Brothers universe too is just no sign of stopping. We've probably got 3 hotel projects we're working on. restaurants, that sort of front of house finery, from servers' wallets to menus, and just these really fun activation events that we've been doing now for a good 7 or 8 years. We often do the Yale CEO Summit, which you might have heard of. We've got a couple new golf course projects that we're working on for these experiential events. And so that's keeping us excited, those sort of efforts.
So if people want to buy your products, BILLYKIRK.com?
BILLYKIRK.com. Absolutely. And then the Bray Brothers Creative.com is where you could go for, our corporate gifting, our design services.
Gotcha. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on today. We're pretty much out of time, but, I think that, again, we've been speaking to Chris Bray, BILLYKIRK, BILLYKIRK.com if you're interested. And then the Bray Brothers Creative, that's if you're a hotel or if you're a business and you want to give a gift instead of just a water bottle or a shirt, give them something, that's a little bit more creative. I don't know what the minimums are, but I'm sure he can work with you.
We work with all minimums and pretty much all budgets.
Yeah. So, go check it out, see what you like. And thanks again, Chris, for taking the time to come on.
Hey, it's great to be here, Phil. I really appreciate it. All right. Take care.